How much money did you guys make with this Airbnb?
So we have $10,000 of confirmed booking.
Hey guys, this is V. This is my coffee. So, I was watching this Nigh on Anarchy video regarding how AI will revolutionize our education, and something did resonate with me when he brought up something called Alpha School. So, I actually had to look it up. Alpha School is a private school that started off in Austin, Texas by a Mackenzie and her husband Andrew Price back in 2016. It focuses on using AI to teach children their core curriculum on top of adding on additional life skills during school time. It had originally been a branch of Acton Academy, which is a micro school. Now, if you don't know how micro schools work, essentially it's a smaller form of a private school where classrooms for each grade are limited to about half a dozen to maybe 2 dozen students, and learning is more individualized towards the students, maybe their specific niches. Obviously, they'll sell themselves by promising parents mastery regarding not only the core basic academic skills, but developing other forms of skills such as entrepreneurship, gardening, coding, home repair. Now, as someone who went to a trade school growing up, this really sounds like a gentrified version of it, but instead of, say, the auto repair kids having an argument with the digital design kids over some misinformed politics while vaping in the bathroom, little Jimmy here is having a discussion with Billy over the S&P 500 while playing Roblox, probably some kind of tycoon management simulator. Obviously, the main target of these schools are going to be parents dissatisfied with the current public schooling system for whatever reason, whether it be it doesn't align with their personal beliefs, religious beliefs, or political agenda, or they just don't find that the academic rigor of those schools would prepare their children enough. Now, back to Alpha School. Alpha School's main gimmick is that they use AI as the main teacher, developing a variety of applications that gamify the learning experience while having said AI teach the student and explain concepts. They even have eye tracking on these applications to try to figure out how to maintain the kids' attention. This is truly some dystopian shit. They don't have teachers at Alpha Schools, they have guides instead. As a matter of fact, in an interview with Mackenzie Price, she specifically states that these instructors are not allowed to teach the kids.
Our guides are not allowed to teach. They are coaching students to become self-driven learners.
What do they necessarily do? They are experts in motivationing, whatever the heck that means.
It's okay that our guides aren't experts in physics or math or whatever they're doing. They are experts in their students.
Now, Alpha School claims to be scoring in the top 1 to 2 percentile across all subjects in terms of academic assessment. This is based on the NWEA, or Northwest Evaluation Association, which is one of the standardized testing companies used by about 50,000 schools in the US, scoring on their MAPS or MAP examination. However, you have to realize that this is a very small sample size, and the vast majority of the results are still held in-house. Critics are saying there's no actual evidence that the results can be even replicated if you were to, say, implement this method of teaching across a broader population, to which I say, no duh. Not everyone will have the resources like Alpha School to implement such a wide amount of learning activities. And truth be told, it's very hard, especially if you're coming from a lower socioeconomic standpoint, to get the resources like an Alpha School. Now, they're claiming to score in the top 98th, 99th percentile. This is true. There is some merit to this claim. As someone who is a poor to maybe alright test taker on a good day, I kind of have mixed feelings regarding test taking. I think it's a great objective measures of aptitude at times, but I also think that letting a score being the sole defining trait for a student's success can be detrimental. And standardized testing can be gamed if you have the necessary resources to study and the right tool. Anyone can improve their test score. When I was studying for the ACT, God knows how many years ago, I had something like Khan Academy and a Google search. I had the motivation of a 16-year-old. I watched maybe 3 videos and YOLO'd it. If I had, say, a dedicated resource, a study guideline, and tutors, and even a question bank, I would have absolutely killed that test, but I didn't. Not saying you don't have the self-motivation and drive at the age of 16 to do it on your own, but I didn't, and I definitely didn't have the resources to even guide me there. But with the right resources at your disposal, I think anyone can do fairly well on these. Also, on the topic of test scores, while doing research on this video, I actually found one of the students posting on Reddit. Hi, so coming from a kid who goes to school, I am in the middle school program. They could do so much to make this a great school, but they just don't. Everything is turned towards testing, so basic math is super hard. I do at least 1 hour of schoolwork at home every day to stay on track, and then another 2 hours to be the best in the class. All of their apps glitch once every 2 weeks, and you have to email their support teams 20 times to fix it. I do enjoy several things about the school, though. That's why I'm still there, including the ability to go at your own pace. I just got a 96 on the 12th grade reading star, the official test for Texas, and my friends are also really great. There are a lot of flaws to that type of system, especially if you gear it all towards test taking. Obviously, if the majority of your education is test centric, your results will reflect. This is actually a large criticism of higher education as well. If you're in law school, you're studying towards the bar using third party resources, and in medical school, you may be studying towards things like the MCAT or the STEP exams. And students in higher education tend to realize early on that the materials presented in the class, although can be important, isn't their top priority. For example, UWorld is the primary study resources for a lot of medical students because they realize that STEP exams matter more than their in-house exam regardless, because that actually goes towards your licensing. All right, let's take a look at what they actually teach in Alpha School. Real life skills, running a mile without stopping, solving a Rubik's Cube, putting together a piece of IKEA furniture by yourself in under an hour. Who came up with this list? Also, how much IKEA furniture is wasted? Is there like a room just filled with unfinished tables and chairs? I'm sorry, Jimmy's just not performing very well right now. It took him over 3 hours to put together this IKEA chair. Also, he can only solve about one side of a Rubik's Cube. I think he's going to have to repeat the third grade. Once again, the Chinese have won over on us in this subject matter because they've been integrating it into their education system for years. This child right here is running an Airbnb in 6th grade, so probably at the age of 11.
How much money did you guys make with this Airbnb?
So we have $10,000 of confirmed booking.
That's just amazing, running an Airbnb at the age of 11. See, the problem with that is you have to own a property to successfully run a business like that. It's nice to go to a private school and learn something like that, but there's no conceivable way for the vast majority of students to integrate something like this into their core curriculum because there's no way the parents of a public school just happen to have extra prime real estate around in order for their child to run a side business and experiment with. Little Kevin here is clearly doing better at the age of 11 than me at the ripe old age of 27 making silly videos in my room, but that's okay, Kevin, because I can rent a car. Now, is this all just gimmick and hype? Yes and no. Truthfully, I think the concept of AI being integrated to our education system is not necessarily a bad idea. I think it's already organically happening and being used by students and teachers alike, but it's simply just not standardized yet. Kids at just about every level nowadays are using AI to write essays and complete entire assignments. College students are using them to complete entire projects and streamline their efficiency. There is something to be said about this. For the most part, I don't think it's completely detrimental. If you start college, you'll likely be placed in basic classes like writing, communication, some form of arts or social studies. And if you're going for something like engineering, the materials you learn in those classes would not necessarily change the trajectory of your career. Now, the problem comes when things actually matter, though. If you're learning about a subject that does impact your career, learning about that topic actually requires mastery to ultimately apply it. And I think using AI as a crutch and a habit to basically game the system can be really detrimental to a person's drive to actually master any topic. At the end of the day, regardless of all the doomer nonsense, I don't think this is going to be the future of schooling where teachers are going to be replaced by AIs and so-called guides. Even some of the concepts they emphasize aren't really all that revolutionary. AI at the end of the day is simply a tool. How we use that tool is what makes the difference. Teachers who are already using new technology to help them improve their workflow will have a significant advantage over those who don't. Simply put, teachers will not be replaced by AI. Teachers will be replaced by other teachers who know how to use AI. And that kind of is the same for just about every job. All right, back to my regularly scheduled brain rot.